Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to a special edition of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping Galaxy's Edge down at Walt Disney World from Batu to, I don't even know, wherever the Millennium Falcon took you on Smuggler's Run or whatever Star Tours iteration you got, and everywhere in between. I am Steve Haller. Joining me once again, our special guest, Matt Beseda. Mike Gibson is out of commission tonight, but we figured we'd drop a quick episode for you and recap or just get some reactions and thoughts in general on Walt Disney World's Galaxy's Edge. How are we doing, Matt?
I'm doing great. This is you want to talk about Disney World with me? You said you want to do a Disney World episode. I said hell yeah. Yeah, I can go till past midnight talking about this stuff.
So Mike,
absolutely.
what Mike and I normally end up doing?
Yeah, it's great to be here, Steve. I always enjoy talking with you and Mike, and this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching live and they're looking for the Ahsoka review, we did have some technical difficulties. The video of that, I don't know if we'll be able to make that available. However, the audio form is available. Head over to Apple Podcasts, download it, toss us a review. Really helps us out. But in general, Matt joined me for that as well, and both of us were pretty solid on it. I know it could for non. I don't know. You come off of 210 episodes and it drops it down to like a, solid 8. And it feels like a big letdown, but overall, I think both of us thought it was a solid episode. So anyway, back to the task at hand.
Yes.
So most listeners know I just returned from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Anyone who's watching on the video can see there's a Savi's lightsaber sitting right there. And yeah, it was quite the experience from a Star Wars fan's perspective. So figured I'd recap it with yet another. I think Mike and I talked about it a couple of times as well, but with Walt Disney World aficionado Matt Beseda on the pod. So I don't know, Matt. Like diving in, where would you even start with Galaxy's Edge?
So it's a great question. So
start with this cup.
And yeah, yes, exactly. I saw that there's a great Etsy seller that 3D prints the name tags as Christmas ornaments.
Oh, nice.
So you better hope you get me for Secret Santa this year, pal. Not that I've already bookmarked that or anything. Galaxy's Edge was the biggest expansion to Disneyland and Walt Disney World that they had ever done. Biggest one land expansion. Yeah. Obviously they built new parks and new resorts, but this is one themed area. It's the biggest they've done.
Right, and that's prior to whatever's coming out of this proposed $60 billion expansion. So
yeah, exactly. They've always had great success with Star Wars in the parks. Obviously, Star Tours that opened in 1989 in both Disneyland and Walt Disney World was a massive hit. And then Star Wars Weekends was very, very popular at Disney MGM Studios, Greater Hollywood Studios. So when they acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, I'm sure it was at the forefront of their mind. It's like, okay, what do we do with this property? We have generations of super obsessed fans like you and I and Mike that we could tap into. How do we do it? And they didn't go with known planets from any of the trilogies. They created their own planet.
Yep.
That's just a galaxy's edge, and they did
But it's not.
it,
It's also in comics and books, and
yes,
like they've taken it and turned it into a thing, which is kind of great.
yeah, yeah. And it's just, I mean, every inch of that land is detailed, from droid marks in the in the walkways
You know how many
to
times my son pointed
different.
those out?
Yeah, is that right?
He's like, "Oh, there's R2's
To,
tracks." I'm like, "Yeah, yep, you're
yeah,
right, bud."
to it used to be, if you wanted to build a lightsaber, you'd go in and find a couple pieces of plastic in Tomorrowland, and you'd build it. Now it's which I'm sure we'll get to, this unbelievable roller coaster of emotions.
Jesus,
Um,
man.
that is just that is so worth it. It's worth the $250
I flew the
just to.
I flew the goddamn Falcon and didn't
Yeah,
feel the emotions that I did in Savi's workshop.
yeah.
And that's
I
not
mean, it
discounting the
was.
emotions from the Falcon.
Yeah. We should say, I don't know how spoilerific we want to get into it, um, but
I would say we can
if any,
similar to where I went in. I would say we can go fine on flying the Falcon is what it is. Um, like
sure,
you know what Smuggler's Run is going to be. I would say we don't go deep on Rise, but everything else is
sure,
on the table.
sure. So, so there's two entrances to Galaxy's Edge, and they're both very calming. You hear this very light music, but you hear ships above you, and you hear different droid beeps and boops, and
Yep.
it's you enter in from the east, and the first thing you see is a blue
Not true.
X-wing.
The first thing you see is a red A-wing.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You see the red A-wing.
And you're
Um,
obsessed with that, and then you look and you're like, holy shit, there's a T-70 X-wing right there.
yeah, yeah. So that's one way to enter, and that brings you right to Rise of the Resistance, which, um, you know, I consider myself a Disney aficionado.
Most people consider you that,
Uh,
Matt.
Former cast member. I've been to 8 Disney parks around the world. I'm working on number 9 and 10 next summer in Tokyo. Um, but Rise of the Resistance is the absolute creme de la creme of Disney attractions. It is. It is. Um, there's not another Disney attraction where from the second you scan your magic band, or the second you walk into that queue, where you don't feel like you are in the film, part of the story,
Yeah.
a part of this bigger world. It is so well done, and it uses Disney pulls out every single trick in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, on the actual ride. Now the ride doesn't. The ride itself doesn't come in for about 20 minutes.
You're in the experience for 20 minutes before you're on the ride, and that 20 minutes
Yeah,
is a roll, not a literal roller coaster, but like a roller. You're all over the place. It's great.
all over the place. You see holograms, and you see working droids, and
Sith
you
Lords
uh
and
you know yeah, I don't want to give too much of it away, because
yeah,
for me personally, when new rides and attractions come out, I never like to watch it on YouTube or
right.
see clips of it. I want to experience it, uh, you know, 100% new.
And that's I went in completely spoiler free. Somehow,
Yeah,
being the Star Wars head that
yeah,
I am, somehow
yeah,
holding off like 2 years being completely spoiler free, was an experience. it was
and
yeah.
what's funny is you, me, and Mike have this group text, and so I went to Disney World in 2022 with
Yep.
my nephew and my mom, and then I went to Disneyland in January. Then I went back to Disney World in July, and um, I'm sending you guys all kinds of pictures, and then it wasn't until about a week before you went, like, oh my God, you've been ruining this for him for a year and a half. I'm like, Matthew, what are you doing? Um, but yeah, it is Rise of Resistance is just
Yeah, if you haven't gone on it,
is
make it a point to go there and go on it if you're a diehard Star Wars fan.
yeah.
It was just
I
great.
almost yelled at a guy. Um, I almost yelled at a guy. I was in Disneyland in January, and I think I was on my third time going on Rise of the Resistance, and I heard a guy near Docking Bay 7, which is a restaurant.
Yep.
Great mac and cheese, by the way, and pulled pork, not pulled pork, a short rib. And he said to his son said, "What's this ride? Can we go on this?" And he's like, "Oh, that's nothing. It's just something you have to pay extra for." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you just called the greatest achievement in
Right.
theme parks, you
Like
know?"
Imagineering's
Um,
greatest A plus.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
nothing.
it's a pain in the ass that if you want to skip the line, you got to pay for it, but it is
Yeah.
there's
Whether or not
nothing
you
you're
want to
gonna
skip the
see
line,
that
it's
day.
worth it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's worth it if you have to stay in line for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
No, it is
It
hilarious
is.
when when we went, we as a family we took a poll coming out of it. I personally, Rise was the A plus. Like I still it was hilarious because it was the first thing, like one of the first things we did. We were able to walk around
Mhm.
Galaxy's Edge for a bit, and we hit Smuggler's Run, and then Rise, like our queue came up for Rise. So I was still of the ilk when, like, it was the first time we've taken my son to a theme park of this caliber or like thing. Like, yeah, he's been to
Sure.
Seabreeze, but like trying to ensure that he's going to, be watching the things he needs to watch and pay attention to this, and that slightly took me out of it, and it was still an A plus. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't even fully immersed, and it was amazing. Um, so yeah, it's well worth grabbing like whenever you get a chance. But the funny thing is, we started the day like we got to Galaxy's Edge. We started the day with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which is its own awesomeness. But
Yeah.
went from there to Galaxy's Edge, came in that east entrance you're referring to, and like I'm sitting there and I just walked in and I'm like, there's a life size A-wing sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sitting there staring at the detail on the A-wing, and I turned and I'm like, huh, there's an X-wing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's like there it is right
Right.
there.
But then you get in there, and we're
It
trying to figure out one way or another, like where things are. Everything is written in Aurebesh, and it was amazing.
yeah.
Like after the initial frustration of like, I don't know what that was. I don't know what that was. It was like, dude, they went full immersion. Like everything, even the cantina, you can make out that it says cantina kind of around the door, like at Oga's,
Mhm.
but everything else around it is in Aurebesh or like random side. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing that takes you out of the experience.
Yeah. One of my favorite Easter eggs is the trash cans in Galaxy's Edge. Um, it's written in Arabic, and it's written in English as well. Um, and on the Disney Parks Play app, you can scan it and you can see what it's saying
Yeah.
in English, but by reading the Arabic. And um, it says that all trash must go to it's escaped me now, the detention plaque AA 23, and then Luke says shut down all the detention, shut down all the detention blocks.
All the
Anyway,
garbage mashers
but
in the
it's
detention hall.
referring,
Yeah,
yeah, it's referring to that South. It's just
that's awesome.
it's small things like that that are just they're just so cool. There's a section in there where it's like a marketplace,
Yep.
Black Spire Outpost, and they have really cool busts, and they have statues of the Falcon, and they have different things, and they have what's the creature's name? It's not
Dianaga?
what's the creature's the Dianaga in episode 4, that grabs Luke in the trash compactor scene. There's one of they have these watering tubes right by the drinking fountain, and if you stop and wait, if you stop and wait, these things will pop up for about 5 seconds, open their eye, look around, and then go away.
That
it's
freaked my
small
son
stuff
out.
like that.
He was having a field day with. He's like, "That's amazing." It's like, that's great.
It is just, stuff like that is just so well done. They even have, I've only done it once myself, and I didn't. I started the mission and I didn't end it, so my magic band was going off for like a half hour. But they have a whole bounty hunting thing you can do.
Oh, really?
With your magic band, where you can you can scan your magic band, and they give you different. It's like a scavenger hunt, and you got to collect the bounty and bring it back there, and stuff like that. It's just so cool. As far as Smuggler's Run goes,
go
ahead.
When we first walked in, we walked over, like we saw the A-Wing and the X-Wing, and we're like, all right, we'll kind of wander around and then head over to Smuggler's Run and whatnot. And when we're walking around, Chewie and Vi Marati were just standing there, and like my son was like freaking out, like, there's Chewbacca. And I'm maintaining my composure, but also freaking out, saying, "There's Chewbacca."
There's Chewbacca, yeah.
But
it's it's for 40-year-old men. Well, I don't want to age you. You're
39.
I've got a couple years on you. Yeah, exactly. It's something special that you can see these characters and these ships in real life, and
from 40 years of like thinking about them.
Yeah, exactly.
But the kicker with this was Sebastian's standing there with Chewie and Vi, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, he's happy as a clam, and Rey just walks up and is like, "Hey, do you mind if I get in the picture?" And he's just sitting there like
so
slack-jawed, like, I don't know how to respond to this.
Yeah.
I'm like, buddy, say yes. So he ended up getting a picture with all three of them, like, just randomly.
I saw that on
just
Lisa's
completely randomly. That she just walked up and was like, "Hey, can I get in the picture?" I'm like, "Dude, this is awesome."
And I think you said Rey was even like, "You will let me in this picture."
They did and the cast members just do a great job with it. Like,
and I'll tell you, there's
Chewie was talking back to me in Shriwook.
Is it? I'll tell you what's great about the Galaxy's Edge cast members is they do a great job of pretending not knowing what Earth is.
Yes.
I had asked about, I think it was a hot dog or something. Like, what's a hot dog?
Yeah.
Why are was that some sort of animal? They do a great job of keeping up.
Yep.
That magic.
Oh, they got the people at the Blue Milk stand got a real kicker out of me actually asking where the refresher was instead of the bathroom.
Okay. Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
One of them was like very, very happy that I played into it. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, they do a great job. I'm trying to think of more examples, but
I don't know, but
but
that
they really.
speaking of that blue milk stand, that blue milk with rum, that was a game changer.
It's funny you mentioned that. So in Disneyland, they don't sell the blue milk with alcohol.
Oh, really?
1 second. Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just got a pop up there. Yeah, that because the only place they sell alcohol in Disneyland is Olga's, whereas Hollywood Studios, they sell alcohol throughout the whole park, so they do the alcohol with the blue milk. And I was at the milk stand at it had to be 9:15, 9:30 in the morning. I'm like,
Same.
do I want to do it?
I
Is it
literally had the
this early?
discussion with the lady. I'm like, it's really early, and she's like, I mean, you're on vacation.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you're right. I might as well because so
Yeah.
my wife got the blue milk, and my son got the blue milk,
Okay.
the regular, and I was like, well, we can't just get 3 blue milks, and then we ended up going back
Right.
later in the day and getting the green. But I was like, well, we can't just all get 3 blue milks, so I might as well.
Yeah.
And it made it like
Now, personally,
smoother and creamier and like improved the blue
yeah,
milk.
I personally like the green milk. I love the blue milk, but
Yes, the
I
green
like the
milk
green milk
was
better.
definitely better.
Yeah. I think there's a taste to it,
Yeah, my
and you know,
hierarchy is
adults get
like
in.
blue milk with booze, green milk, blue milk. Because
Sure.
we didn't try the green with
Even my
anything.
mom, even my mom tasted the blue and green milk,
Yep.
which for her to do is, she was feeling that Disney spirit, the
Nice.
um I was so thrilled when my mom said, "Come on, I want to get a picture of you and Ben in front of the Falcon." I go, "Mom, not only did you just name drop the Millennium Falcon, you called it the Falcon, and that just made my day."
Nice.
Um,
Very nice.
but there's so many cool uh, shops and there's some great restaurants.
Well, I was pissed because when we went on Smugglers Run, we Genie Plus Smugglers. The first time we didn't like, but there was nobody in queue because it was ass o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
So it was like a half rope drop, and like we got to run through the queue. And then the second time we Magic Band, like we Genie Plussed it, so we ended up running through the queue again. And I'm sitting there every time I'm walking through, I'm like, I part of me wishes that I could stand in line and like look at
That
some
you
of
could
this
just
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that because that same Disney Parks Play app
Yeah.
allows you to crack codes and stuff, and you can you can make the Falcon make sounds. And whoa, what is what the hell was that? That
Thank
happened to us earlier.
yeah. Thank you, Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Some fireworks going off. That was
You
very weird.
you went to Fantasmic?
But yeah, yeah, exactly. But you can do different things to light. You can make droids talk. You can make
Oh,
the
nice.
Falcon steam up and stuff like that. But there's even stuff in Galaxy's Edge where you see like a junk garage
Yeah.
where you see parts of a speeder and older droids
Yeah, there was
and
one point
stuff
there
like
was
that.
like
I just
a gonk droid that was like half taken apart, and I'm like, okay, cool.
yeah, it's just it's cool because it's different
It
and
feels lived in.
um yeah,
And actually
yeah,
Mike and I think Mike and I might have talked about it on the podcast. But one thing we came to the realization because at Animal Kingdom Pandora it's awesome, but it
mhm,
doesn't feel the same. And I
right,
think I think it was Mike brought up that because Batu is supposed to be like a bustling spaceport marketplace, whatever, everything feels like the lived in feel and the atmosphere fits it. Whereas in Pandora,
mhm.
you've got a shit ton of people walking around what's supposed to be this pristine natural area, and you're like, this doesn't quite
Yeah.
the immersion isn't
You
quite
know, that
there.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And while Pandora is absolutely beautiful, and they did
Yeah.
How they pulled off the floating mountains and
Hmm.
that makes a lot of sense. It's Batu is very lived in.
Yeah.
It's and for those who can't visualize it, I would sort of say it's a little bit like Tatooine, in that
Yeah.
maybe like a um, maybe like a Mos Espa type
Yeah.
feel to it, but much different.
Yeah, we're not
It's
talking like Takodana with Maz's Castle or something, but
right.
it's not full desert, but it's definitely on the more arid side, it seems.
Yeah. One of the coolest things you can do in Galaxy's Edge is go to Doc Ondar's, which is
So crazy.
which is so crazy. So they have in there, um, they have the most random Star Wars merchandise. They have this painting. It's a painting, but it's like a 3D model
Yeah.
of the of my brain is um Return Jedi, the Sarlacc. There we go. Of the Sarlacc, and you can see the top of the Sarlacc, but then you see the entire
Yep.
like
The whole.
stomach of the Sarlacc, and it's so cool.
Oh yeah.
But the highlight of Doc Odar's is the lightsabers and the hilts,
Oh yeah. They have
and
all
and
the
you can
legacy.
yeah,
Well, no, the highlight
and
is
it,
behind that. You just have Doc Ondar himself, the Ithorian, just sitting
yes,
there, like
you just
looking around every
and he
once in a
moves
while,
a
and
little bit,
yep.
yeah, and he um but it's and the fact that I'll never forget, um I sent pictures out when I was in Disneyland, and you said, I love that Plo Koon's lightsaber hilt is a real thing
Yeah.
now.
And then by
Like
the
you
time
could
I got
go
there,
and
it
buy
was sold out.
that. Oh, is that
Yeah.
right?
I would have come back with one if Plo Koon's saber was still there.
Sure.
But alas,
Yeah.
I think I
It's
spent
just
enough
it's
money on that one.
and yeah, exactly. Um, they're very good about letting you handle them,
Yep.
and that they know that John Q tourist is not going to buy a lightsaber, but they'll let him hold it. They'll let him play with it
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, I got to fiddle
But
around with the
but
Cal Kestis blade from Jedi Fallen
oh,
Order,
nice.
and
Yeah,
the
and that
thing.
thing is massive.
Oh yeah, and much like in the game, you can switch it to any of the colors you want without switching the crystal out.
So awesome.
Yeah. So for the Savi sabers like that one, you have to physically switch out. You can see the little canisters are different
Yeah.
kyber crystals, and it gives the blade a different color. It gives the thing that amazed me was the sounds. Like the sounds
Yes.
change with the color of the blade because I got a green blade, and I bought a blue kyber crystal for my son because he's obsessed with blue everything, and I put that in and I was like, hold on, did that sound different? Like it didn't process. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, okay, and then like
I I,
swapped
I
them
got
back out, and I was like, no, that's definitely different.
I got to bring over next time I'm over there, Steve. I got to bring over my red and purple
Oh, okay.
to show you those because
I have a white and a red that I got.
oh, okay,
Well,
and the red is like drastically different.
the red I haven't opened up
It's
yet. So I
okay.
had to when I was down there I picked up a red for myself and Mike. Mike
Mhm.
needed a red and a green and I was like, all right, now I have two reds and I'm not going to be the one to choose. I'm
Sure.
holding both reds sealed until Mike chooses which
Yeah.
one is his in case one of
Yeah.
them is a
It's
dark
like
saber
deal or no
crystal.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
you choose the case and I'll
So for people who don't know, um, there's a certain amount of the red kyber crystals that actually, when you open them up, they are black, um, and you could make a black saber, or you make a dark saber with it. It's actually
yeah.
very, very cool, and and if you go on to tell you how many reds people buy
Oh yeah.
to try to get one. If you go on eBay, the price of like a red kyber crystal is like $6. The price of a green, blue, or purple is like $20. The price of a black is like $125.
Yeah, on Amazon right now, if you wanted to buy a black kyber crystal, it's $268.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
It's just but yeah, they make very distinctive noises, and it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So cool. They really I bet the money they've made off lightsabers has paid for Galaxy's Edge altogether.
And
Um,
that experience in itself, like I don't want to, I can't go beat for beat because it's a very,
sure.
like, I don't remember beat for beat. I know it was a very emotional process, um,
Yeah.
which I did not expect going in. I didn't know what to expect, but it was like it
Right.
hits you in the feels. Like if you're one who's up on or prone to Star Wars lore and like holds Star Wars in the regard that anyone associated with this podcast seems to. It
Yeah.
was definitely an experience and an experience worth. I almost didn't do it. I think I told you that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hemming and hawing because none of the pieces, like, I couldn't decide between a classical hilt or the elemental in nature, which is what I went with, or like a High Republic style. So I was like, none of
Hmm.
them are really calling to me. I'm just gonna go, like, I'll get a replica saber and call it a day and whatever. And my wife actually talked to me. She was like, go get in line, and when they ask you, make that decision, and like whether you're gonna do it or not or whatever. And I was joking with Mike that it was the will of the Force that I just like chose elemental, and like it
Yeah.
worked out in the grand scheme of things, but
That's
and
awesome.
it was
Yeah.
100% an
I did something.
experience.
I
My
did
son
something
went in with
similar.
me too.
Oh. That's awesome.
Yep. So he was actually the one that fired up my saber.
That's cool.
So that
That's
probably
very cool.
added to the emotional heft of it too.
Sure. And they do such a good job, and
They do.
it's a story, but it's also they do special effects, and it's just so well done.
Yep.
I
Now,
can't say enough good things.
there is one point
Go
where
ahead.
they mentioned the purple kyber crystals, and they only mention Mace Windu.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I personally take affront to that because Quinlan Voss was the original
Yep.
wielder of the purple lightsaber, and he got no love. And I did call out the master on that, and she played right into it. It was great. So
That's great.
yeah, the
That's great.
hosts do a phenomenal job in there. It's
They really do.
absolutely impeccably
And
done.
I don't know if they are equity actors or if they are, but they do a phenomenal job. They do a great job. There's also along with building a lightsaber, you can build a droid as well, which I know Sebastian did, my nephew Ben did, and it's a cool thing. Like, you're actually building this droid. They have this screwdriver that comes down from the ceiling, and you gotta screw the thing in, and you gotta do different things, and um,
Yep.
that's a cool process too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Um, and and I believe both Ben and Sebastian both made BB-8,
yep.
which is
Yeah,
kind of
my
funny.
yeah, my son had the option of anything and made verbatim BB-8,
That's awesome.
and then named him BB-8. So,
Um, what was your favorite part? Because I know my favorite part. What was your favorite part of Smuggler's Run?
uh honest answer, um pulling down
Sure.
the light speed lever with my son because he couldn't reach
Yeah.
it, so I had to help him. So
Okay.
I like brought it down a little, and I
Uh,
was like, "All right, punch it, Sebastian," and he pulled it down the rest of the way.
punch it. Yeah, that's awesome. I personally love right before you get on the ride. It's not a traditional queue, so
Yep.
they give you a color, and you have about 5-7 minutes to spend inside the Falcon, um, at the table, sitting. You can take pictures. There's some cool hatches.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, like we got a
yeah,
picture at the Dejarik table, like, and
yeah,
at Disney Springs you can buy a Dejarik board.
yes,
I personally
which
ended
is
up with
which is
Sabak deck.
okay. Oh,
So
nice.
so can actually play a game of Sabak if you ever
Very
want.
cool. Yes, absolutely. That's awesome. That's what's played in solo, right?
Yep. And
Where Lando has the
that's
thing. Yeah,
so Sabak it's the game that Han won the Falcon from Lando with, or in.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That's fantastic. Yeah, they really, um, they really did a great job. And what's great is there's enough land there. I have a book somewhere. Um, they have the sequel series and Mandalorian. They all have the Art of Star Wars
Yeah.
uh, series, and I have a Art of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge
Oh,
where they
nice.
show blueprints and they show unbuilt attractions and they show this and that. There's so much they can do that it's not like, again, not to pick on Avatar. It's not like Pandora where you're kind of pigeonholed into. There are so many different things they could do with Galaxy's Edge that it's you know the mind runs wild
Yeah.
thinking about that.
Yeah, it's mildly crazy thinking where they could go with it, especially, you look as now you have Star Cruiser that is almost directly behind Galaxy's Edge, and
Yeah,
do they look to expand and just make that one big thing, or
yeah.
what?
And we have about 2 days left of
Yeah.
Star Cruiser.
Which I still can't. I mean,
Which is
I guess
just crazy.
I get, but I don't get. Like, Disney's definitely done that, and like when they know it's not going to work, they cut their losses, and that's that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like, what I wouldn't have given for them to just turn that into a resort, or like,
Yeah,
or who knows, maybe that's what they end up doing, or something along those lines. But
right. And that's one of the rumors. I mean, they're not just gonna knock it down.
right,
I mean, they have it's
yeah, if you turn that
it's
into like we stayed at Pop Century, like
mhm.
turn that into the Star Wars equivalent of that, then
Yeah,
people would stay there in a heartbeat.
yeah. And you can do I doubt it'll be $1,000 a night, but you can do the highest tier, and people will pay for it because it's longer. It's not that 2 night maximum.
Right.
It's there's so much you can do. There's so much you can do with that.
Oh, 100%.
Um, you went to Olga's as well, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. That was
Yeah,
an experience. Just like we
yeah.
kind of got rushed in and out of there just from a logistical standpoint, because we had to we had Slinky Dog at 2:45, so we had to get up and out. So we did back to back Droid, Savi's, Ogas. But one thing
Okay.
for anyone, if you haven't been, um, your queue for Ogas just means you can go and put your name in.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
didn't realize it was going to be another. So we queued for Slinky Dog at like for a 2:45 that we ended up riding at like 3:15,
hmm
because we didn't realize that it was going to be the half hour to get into after we put our name in, a half hour to get into Ogas and do the whole nine. It was like, oh, okay,
yeah.
that that was the only thing that like caught me by surprise on the whole situation.
Sure. It, and I've had that happen to me before,
Yep.
and then I've had it happen where it was like that day, and they're like going now. It's very crowded in there,
It is very like they pack
And
people in.
yeah, and the food choices aren't really. I mean, they're like a couple appetizers,
Yep.
but what drink did you have?
Oh shit. Uh, I don't remember. I don't remember at all.
I had the first time I was there. I had the one that stood out to me was uh, the fuzzy tauntaun,
Oh yeah.
which had these like bubbles that made your nose and mouth numb, um, and which was very unsettling. Um, and then I think I had the space slug.
Oh,
Uh,
my what was it? My wife had the yub nub because, of
the
course.
yub nub. I had the yub
Oh
nub
wait,
too.
no,
Yeah.
that's the one
Uh,
that's what she wanted because but she wanted it. She didn't care about the glass, so
the
she didn't
cup.
end up
Yeah.
getting it because you can't get it without the glass. So
Right. Well, I not to brag, I was able to get it with the glass, but they said I had to give the glass back, and I did. I was honest. I'm
nice.
very honest when I go to Disney,
So
and I'm
you
honest in real life. Just yeah.
you are you just you
But
say the things. Um.
e- e-
Oh, that's what it was. The jet juice.
oh, Jet. Okay,
Maker's
nice,
Mark with the ancho chili. Yep. So that
nice.
was I mean it was delicious.
When I yeah, when I was in Disneyland at Olga's, I was with my friend Chris, and some stormtroopers came in and gave some people a hard
Oh yeah.
time, and asked for credits, and it's fun. It's a really interactive, uh, cool place.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the
And
stormtroopers were getting after people out in front of the Falcon when we were there.
okay,
Yep.
nice, nice. It's cool. Yeah,
I was
and,
trying to
and
get
they're
Sebastian to nestle up in there because he had his birthday pin on, so I figured they'd give him
mhm,
a good hard time. But he didn't end
yeah,
up. They ended up marching someone off before he had a hand or a
sure.
chance to.
Disney has always done a good job with stormtroopers. Like there
Yeah.
used to be a show during during Star Wars weekends, and every year it was a different show, but it was so funny.
Hmm.
Like they would um, they would talk about they would show themselves on the water slide at the Contemporary, and they would show them eating ice cream, and
Oh, that's great.
they'd show them giving the parking attendants a hard time,
Yep.
and then they would sing karaoke. So when Let It Go was popular, they'd sing Let It Go,
Right.
and they'd have a big sing along of the Imperial March, and it was cheesy, and it was funny, and it was comedic, and it was different every year. I've On YouTube, God bless YouTube. I watch every year of that because it's different every year. Uh,
Yep.
yeah. Um, when Magic Bands first came out, I remember there was a stormtrooper that had a magic band on, and they're like, "What are you doing? Why do you have that thing on?" Well, I wanted to go to Tower of Terror after this, stuff like that. And
Still great, by the way.
it's
Tower Terror
just
is still great.
what's oh yeah, Tower of Terror is
I
great.
was on it. I was
It's
on it
it,
the
it
year it
holds up.
opened, and
Is
it.
that right?
Yep. And that was the last time I was at Disney. Was the year Tower of Terror opened back in
Wow,
MGM Studios.
94.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
What do you think of a couple other Hollywood studios things? What did you think of Runaway Railway?
Great. I mean, they did. So it's funny because Legoland definitely had a ride that tried to reproduce what was going on there, and they did it well, but
Okay,
like it was a whole different level for Runaway Railway.
sure.
Enough that my son
And
insisted we went on it twice. So
okay,
yeah,
nice. I love Runaway Railway. I was heartbroken when they took out the Great Movie Ride,
yep.
which was there since that was the first ride in the park.
Oh really?
But
Huh.
Yeah. So the Hollywood's MGM Studios opened with two rides. It opened with the Great Movie Ride, and then the 3-hour backstage
Yep.
tour.
Oh, okay.
Where you get in and you see the Golden Girls house, and you see costuming, and you see the animation building,
Yeah.
and you go through Catastrophe Canyon and all that stuff.
Nice.
And yeah, but the deal with Great Movie Ride is you have all these movies that Disney doesn't own, like Alien. Well, they own it now, but they
Right.
didn't at the time. Alien and Wizard of Oz and Indiana Jones and Tarzan and Casablanca, and it was you go through these movies, and there was a gangster portion where
Oh, yeah.
the gangster would
How did they end up
would
with the rights
take
to all
over the
that?
ride. Yeah, well, it's so uh, some executive at MGM gave them the theme park rights for pennies. I mean, like 20 million,
They'll never make
like
anything
for
off of
20
this.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much so they tried to get it back and they couldn't, which is why um, if you ever watch any promotional videos from the 90s or 2000s,
Yep.
the word MGM is not in there. It's just called the Disney Studios because there was a loophole. They couldn't use it for promotional purposes, like stuff like weird stuff like that.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the Great Movie Ride was fantastic. But times change. Now you have Toy Story Land, and you have Galaxy's Edge, and you have
Right.
Sunset Boulevard, and it's really they did a great job with it. It will be interesting to see if ABC sells what they do with the ABC area of the park. Whether or
Yeah.
not, I mean, it's not much, but that will be interesting. And you went to Fantasmic as well, right? What did you
Yep.
think of that?
Solid.
Yeah,
I've seen enough even back then, like the things that stuck with me were like the fireworks and the shows like that, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
was in the vein of that, and it was awesome.
yeah. It's a cool show that they pack those people in there, and then getting out is what they I don't know if they did this with you, but sometimes when it's really crowded, they open up the backstage areas just to shutter people out of there,
Oh,
get
really?
them out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
uh,
it was pretty full, but it wasn't like insane. So
sure,
it actually worked out pretty well as far as we were able to get out relatively quick. So, and then we were
nice.
Skyliner right over to Pop Century, so it was
Yeah, it's
simple.
great, right?
They need to put those to every
Skyliners.
place in the park.
Yeah, I mean it's great. The only downfall of the Skyliner is that during heavy rain, it can't. They don't do it during heavy rain,
Oh yeah.
which is pretty much the month of June. um, but it's great. They did a great job with that, and you guys did stunt spectacular as well.
Yep. Yeah,
Indiana
that
Jones,
was great.
yeah,
Ended up
yeah.
being one of my
It,
son's favorite things outside of the big fire finale.
the
He
big
was like,
fire finale,
I
yeah,
didn't really like the fire, but everything else was awesome. I was like, all right, cool.
that's awesome. I don't know if I told you, but I was one of the extras one time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was actually my second day with the company.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, and I got pulled up, and people were pointing me like this guy, this guy. So I got pulled up, and they take you back to wardrobe, and I go, I'm actually a cast member. She goes, don't tell me that. Cast members aren't allowed to be in that. Forget you tell me that. I'm like, okay, I didn't
Totally
say
not.
anything. Yeah, um, but that was a lot of fun, and yeah, it's a great park. I'm glad you guys had a great time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I now understand why people get turned into Disney people. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Um,
They do it right.
it's you know, you said to me the other night when we were out, you're like, "Damn, the mouse has its claws in me
Oh,
now."
absolutely.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
"Yep, that would do it." It's and it was funny when Lisa said, "Well, next time we go,"
Yeah. Well, that's trying
like
to
like
trying to
right when you're,
temper
yeah,
trying to temper your 6-year-old into. He's like, well, next time we're here, I'm like, all right, if we're here next time, buddy. Like, there's a
right,
big qualifier there.
yeah,
This is not cheap,
yeah,
sir. So,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a reason that I'm 41 and still single. It's because of all my Disney trips. Um,
Oh
you know,
God. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
you don't have no kids? Disney sold. It's an easy.
exactly. Well,
Actually, one of our good friends. He said one of our other good friends is like that. Her and her friend go down constantly. They leave. She leaves her husband at home, and like they don't have kids, and
yeah,
her and her friend go down. They just
yeah.
live. They're like DVC
Well,
people and whatever. It's like, yeah,
yep.
they go for it.
It's funny. This year since January, I've been to Disney's Alani Resort in Hawaii. I've been to Disneyland. I've been to Disney World. In a month, in a couple days, I'm going on a Disney cruise. So
There you
it's
go.
I'm not slowing down my Disney fandom at 41.
Yeah, the mouse has
Um,
definitely got their hooks in then.
yeah, yeah, and they've had their hooks in since really '87. I mean
There you go.
that was the first that was the first time. So this was
Nice.
fun, Steve.
Oh, absolutely, man. Glad you could come on and talk about it. And if anybody's out there listening, you want to hear more about random ramblings. Usually it's me and Mike, but Matt pops in on occasion. Um, you can find us any Sundays at 9:30. Check out themultiverseport.com, multiverseport@gmail.com, Multiverse Report on all your socials. Feel free to search us up there. Um, Beyond that, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Always helps us out, helps the algorithm find us, and sucker more people into listening to us. Other than that, yeah, you got anything else, Matt, or we good to go?
No, this was great. Thank you for having me on back-to-back episodes, and this was fun. And I always love listening to you guys. I listen to you usually every Monday, and every Ahsoka update which is usually Wednesday or Thursday on the way to work. Um, I enjoyed it a great deal, and it's always a pleasure being on.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you. And for anyone out there, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you around the multiverse.